Welcome back. You are watching Weekend Today. Home at last. Dozens of returned travellers are waking up this morning in what must feel like a different world. The first group of repatriated Aussies spending their very first night in quarantine after returning home from COVID-ravaged India.
Yeah, welcome back indeed. They were the lucky ones. The plane half empty, of course, after more than 40 people, in fact 48 people tested positive, and 24 were close contacts just hours before the flight. Melbourne woman Akriti Gupta made it on that flight, and she joins us now from the Howard Springs facility in Darwin. First of all, welcome home, Akriti. How did you feel when that plane touched down?
Thank you so much, Richard.
Describe that feeling.
It feels great. It feels great. It feels great to be back home. It wasn't easy, but yeah, I made it. And I just pray and wish that people who are still stuck, they also witness this feeling soon.
Akriti, it must have been quite the mission to get home. The journey, obviously, to Australia wasn't smooth sailing. How nervous were you waiting for your test result to come back, knowing full well that, if it was positive, you wouldn't be getting on that plane?
That's correct. So as I said, journey wasn't smooth. As you know, we were quarantined in New Delhi for 3 days. So we were really very nervous the day the results had to come because, COVID is such a thing. No matter how much precautions you take, it can sneak up on you anytime. So unfortunately, many of us were not able to clear the tests, and that was really disappointing. It was really heartbreaking for them to, go back to their homes. And yeah,
the nation's heart breaks for them. Terrible to be left behind. You've spent your first night in quarantine at Howard Springs. How is it there?
Howard Springs facility is peaceful and beautiful. It's really nice. So they have their systems and arrangements in place, which is really great. So we all are looking forward to spending some quality time in the days to come. And just hoping that we test negative throughout our stay. And I'm just hoping to fly back to Melbourne on the 29th. So I'm just looking forward to it.
How long were you in India for?
So I traveled to India in December. I lost my father in December, so I had to travel because of that. And here I just want to make a point that, nobody in these tough COVID situations is traveling home for, leisure.
Sure.
Mostly people are stuck. In India, went in some emergencies, like the way I did to attend my father's funeral. So I really hope that nobody has to travel for such unforeseen circumstances. It's really hard.
How was the process in India of, from the time you said you want to come home to actually walking onto that flight, that aircraft?
To be very frank, I started to try to come back in March. I went there in December, but I just wanted my mother to settle down a bit before I traveled back. So I started to looking for a flight in March and was able to book a flight for myself, the DFAT flight for the 21st of May. But then, unfortunately, because of these the restrictions which were put by the government, I was not able to fly and the flight was cancelled. Then luckily, the travel ban was uplifted, and then I could secure a ticket for myself. So it wasn't like really, really hard for me, but I know few people who have been stuck since a very long time, and due to multiple reasons, they are not able to come back. So yeah, just wish everybody to be back home because, Australia is home for them and for us, and nobody deserves to be kept away from their home. So that's really, yeah.
And Akriti, what was it like in India? Were you terrified of getting COVID, not just because you wanted to come home, but because of the situation with the hospitals? We're hearing, they're running out of oxygen, there are no beds. Were you terrified of actually getting COVID?
Not really. Like I said, as much precautions as you take, it's not under our control. The only thing we were doing was just staying at home, wearing our masks, keeping that social distancing. Time in India is really tough at the moment. I do understand what you are talking about. It's really hard for many people who are struggling. In my family, my family, like my extended family, I've seen certain death cases. So yeah, it was tough. But then anyways, the only thing which I had in my mind is to keep myself and my mother safe.
Yes.
And come back as soon as possible.
What's the first thing you're going to do when you get to Melbourne?
Actually, again, that like my job got affected due to COVID back in March. So then I had to travel to India. So the first thing is getting on to securing a job for myself. And then, you know, I missed my takeaway coffees. So surely with my
See, you're a true Melburnian. I knew it. You're a true Melburnian. The first thing we do when
the weather over there is really cold, so coffee would, you know, just suffice.
See, the first thing a Melburnian does when they get off the plane from overseas is go straight to their local barista. Akriti Gupta, we are so glad that you are home. Stay safe there at Howard Springs and hope you get back to Melbourne really soon. Take care. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for being generous and speaking with us this morning.